Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another exciting episode of Profile Matters. Hi guys, I hope you guys are doing okay today, and hope you guys enjoyed your Thanksgiving and all got nice and fat from all your turkey and your pie. I know I did. If this is your first time listening in, welcome. If this is not, and you guys are returning, it's a pleasure to be talking to you guys again. And if this is your first time, listening in, my name is Cameron. I am the host of Profile Matters, and unfortunately, my co-host could not be here. She's off doing family stuff, which is fine. So I took things over for a couple of weeks, just taking it on my own for a little bit. And I was working on something really exciting that I've been talking to you guys for a while. Wendy L. Patrick, that interview, I want you guys to know that is still coming if you guys are waiting for that. The interview went fine and everything like that, but we had some problems with the audio, so we're going to go back and redo it and not the interview, but redo the audio and stuff just to get it just right for you guys. That'll probably be appearing, the episode will be probably coming out, I would think within the next couple weeks. I have a birthday coming up in December, at the beginning of December, so I'm really focusing on that and spending some time with my family and stuff, so as you can imagine. But that will definitely be in December, and that might wrap up at least for a month or so, that because I am working on an article about Eastern North Carolina and our congressmen and stuff like that, and working on bringing up a new site and stuff like that, not for Profile Matters but for a separate project. So I'm trying to make sure that I go back and forth between the two, and plus Dr. Knighting, she will be traveling out of state about that time in December, so we both are going to be pretty busy, so we figured we'd take the month off in December and possibly January, but I'll try to pop in every once in a while and drop you guys a little something so you guys aren't sitting there and being like, oh man, I really like to listen to some Profile Matters, but they're not doing anything. So we'll make sure we get something going for you, but I do have a little treat for you guys tonight, and I'd also like to give a shout out to a fan, Melody, who came at me with this first idea a couple months back that I should do an episode about this, and I pushed really hard to try to find somebody that I could talk to from the good old U of K, and I finally got in touch with somebody, and we're going to be discussing a very interesting case, one that to this day baffles the world, to be honest with you. It's a big case, and to talk about that case with us, we have the senior lecturer in forensic science and the program leader of forensic science from Derby University, and that is going to be Mr. Jon Wright. Mr. Jon Wright is going to be joining us today. He's also a member of the International Association of Blood Pattern Analysts. He's worked in the field of applied science since the age of 18. He started his career in a medical toxicology laboratory and then moved into the forensic field, where he worked, first for the Metropolitan Police and then over to the Forensic Science Service. He's worked many cases and done a lot of consulting, and one of the cases that he has worked on was in fact the case we want to talk about, Jack the Ripper. Yes, the Jack the Ripper case. And for those of you who want a little refresher of just who Jack the Ripper was, I would advise you to go in and to check it and look and read through everything, because it is very interesting, but it's the basics. From years 1888 to 1889, it gets a little iffy there, because there's been a lot of speculation and rumors, and there's just so much that surrounds this case. There's not been a definitive time for how long he officially may have killed. But we do know is from August 31st to the 9th of November in 1888, those were the 5 murders that we do contribute to him, known as the canonical 5. And those 5 women were brutally murdered. And there's been many different mysteries as far as who did it surrounding the case. Like, we've heard every different type of theory. I've heard so many different theories. from it was a doctor, an assassin, to just being a lone killer, a butcher. Biggest thing was definitely a doctor, someone with medical training, or even a midwife. They could have been a woman, which I always thought was a really fascinating one. To hear that instead of Jack the Ripper, Jacqueline the Ripper. I mean, come on, that's, I've heard it from being, even over here in America, we've heard it that H.H. Holmes could have been Jack the Ripper, which, if you guys don't know who H.H. Holmes is, we're planning on doing an episode about him coming up soon. So we'll explain a little bit more who he is. But talking about Jack, he or she, they were very prolific, and they never figured out exactly who it was that. And this, of course, happened in Whitechapel, in England, and it was a very famous case, and there's just been so much speculation and so many different theories as to who this killer may have been. So naturally, we wanted to kind of reach out and talk. But anyways, let's go ahead and slice this thing open and start poking around, and I'll be right back for you guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Mr. Jon Wright. Mr. Jon Wright, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Okay, so pretty much we'll just go ahead and hop on in here, and we're just going to ask you a couple questions here today, and we appreciate you being on here. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I understand that you used to work for the Metro Police and then Home Office in London for, what was it, about 16 years, right?
That's correct, yes.
Perfect.
So I worked for the Metropolitan Police in London. So that's the main police force in the capital, doing forensic work. And then we were taken over as an organisation by the Home Office, the Forensic Science Service, and I worked for them for the rest of the time I've been there.
Okay. And what was that experience like for you?
It was very interesting. I worked on all sorts of things, and I only, when I first started, about 20, I think. And I worked on, it's just working on cases that would appear in the news, and you'd actually go and actually work, and you'd be working on stuff that you'd heard on the news, and that were of national importance.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I worked in various sections, but the actual laboratory at the time was divided up into certain sections. So we had sort of a biology section, a chemistry section. We had sections that worked specifically on fire investigation and on vehicle investigation. And I worked my way around. I worked in the biology section. I worked on DNA when it first came out. I also worked looking at anti-terrorism work and looking at special fingerprint recovery and things like that from vehicles and buildings, and to get fire investigation.
What would you what all? And so that was pretty much all you did, like during your duration there, correct?
Yeah. So I also worked in research as well, and looked at developing new techniques for use within the laboratory.
Wow, that's so fascinating. I understand that you now that you're now you do something a little different. Now you're, well, not a little different, but now that you're a senior forensic lecturer at Derby University, right? How's that been for you?
That's great. When I left, I joined the University of Derby in Derby, actually in the centre of England, not far from Birmingham. And I've been there for just over 12 years now, teaching students. We currently have we run 3 degree courses, and they're 3 years long, our degrees. And on each year we have about 100 students. So we've got about 300 students at the moment that we teach. And it's just teaching them all sorts of things about forensic science, also all background science, so the chemistry, the biology, they do maths, statistics, as well as doing sort of crime scene science as well.
And I'm curious, Is it students from like all over the world? I'm not sure how that works. Is it you have classes?
Yeah, no, we have students from the UK. We have students from Slovenian nationals from Poland, Germany, France, and we also have students from other parts of the world. We've currently got students from Russia. We've got a couple of American students and a Canadian student on the course of the line as well.
Wow, that's fascinating. That's so cool. And I'm glad that there's that you have so many that's a lot of students. I mean just from being over here where I'm at and seeing the interest here, but seeing the interest internationally is it's fascinating because you have people come all over the world to learn about this, and that's a good thing. Forensics is very important.
It's a good course. It's not just, it's important that students, when they do it, because there's only a limited market for forensic scientists, there's not a huge demand for them. What we teach them is applied science, so they can go and work in almost any field that involves science, but they think about it like a forensic scientist, so they think about things slightly differently.
Which is good to have that, the open horizon mindset, which is good. That they definitely need that.
Yeah.
So I also understand that you have advised on quite a few different spectrums, as like books, TV shows, radio, and cases. Can you give us some specific examples of things you advised and worked on?
I can. Most of them are UK, although some of them you'd be able to get over in the States as well. I worked with a few years ago a guy called Matthew Kelly on a thing called Forensic Casebook over in the UK, where we looked at how old forensic cases are solved and the methods used, and then we compared them to modern methods. Mm-hmm. I also worked on a series we had called The Trial over in the UK earlier this year, where we took a group of normal people as jury, and then we used professionals and an actor who was accused of murder, and I set all the scene up and wrote all the scene statements for that for them. The one that you might know over in the States on HBO is Beyond Reasonable Doubt that's just been out. I was the forensic advisor and actually appeared in quite a few of the episodes of that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I've worked on, when I start listing it's quite a few. I worked on some stuff on Yesterday television over here. I did the series called Royal Murders, looking at murders and crimes with royal connection, such as the Earl of Errol mystery and Jack the Ripper. And we worked on that, and I was the advisor for that series as well.
Wow. Yeah, you've done quite a bit.
I've done quite a few, yes.
Very busy man.
If only when I write them down, I realise how many I've done.
That's usually how that goes. It's like it's in your memory bank, and then when you actually write it down, you're like, oh, wow, that's quite a lengthy list. So speaking of Jack the Ripper, I know that this is where some of our questions go, because I know a large, it's such a big mystery, and it's something that's still to this day people, even when I was in school, and we were doing particular like classes and stuff, we would talk about criminals and stuff. That would be one of the biggest cases. They would bring up and we would talk about, and it's still talked about today. And so I understand that you did advise on the Jack the Ripper case. Can you explain how that kind of came about and in what way you advised?
Well, I've got an interest in what we call cold cases or older cases, and also an interest in older forensic methods. Mm-hmm. And I belong to various Facebook groups and other sort of interest groups, and there's a lot of talk on Jack the Ripper, as you say, probably the most famous case in the world, mm-hmm. because it's so widely discussed. And there's various things on there at the moment. People are desperately trying to find new avenues to see whether they can solve it, or to find evidence that people may have missed. I'm currently looking at one of the things quite large at the moment is is the diary, or the purpose to be the diary of Jack the Ripper, which is written and it's a suspect, a guy called James Maybrick, who came from Liverpool. Now, that diary, some of the areas of that diary they want to test and further test are the inks in the diary to see if it is actually possibly genuine, and then try and compare the inks with and the handwriting with other areas that have been retained from cases where they've got James Maybrick's writing, and they want to see if the inks that he's written match the inks in the diary to prove that it was written by him, and just to see whether or not there's any further work that can be done with that. It's quite an interesting case.
Yeah. And for the audience, for our audience who is, who pretty much everybody's, when you talk to somebody about it, everybody has a basic understanding of, of the case, just the basics. Is there something that maybe that's interesting that you learned along the way, that you weren't aware of at the time about the case, something that maybe you figured out or something that just stuck out to you?
What I found out really is there's a lot more evidence around than you actually think. When you read about it, you think, oh, there's not a lot of evidence. But there is evidence that's appearing and people are questioning it. The only problem is that a lot of documentation for evidence, and that's very important when you have a crime, is the chain of continuity. A lot of the documentation has been lost over the years. It's not where it should be in the archives. I think it's probably gone home with people's souvenirs and things like that, unfortunately. But the difficulty we do have is that when Jack the Ripper in 1888 was actually operating, we didn't have forensic science per se as we do now. And even fingerprints weren't actually used as an investigation tool at that point. We probably do have Jack the Ripper's fingerprint. We've probably got his blood and his DNA, but we've got nothing to compare it to really because it wasn't being used as a forensic tool at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. And I mean, there's many theories about Jack the Ripper. One of the other more unusual theories, perhaps, is the fact that it might not have been a man at all. It might have been a woman. It might have been a midwife.
I've heard that as well. That is a very fascinating, interesting theory.
And that was put forward by Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of the Sherlock Holmes stories.
Mm-hmm.
Which is another passion of mine. And he met up with a group of eminent writers and historians and detectives, and they discussed the idea that in Victorian London, whereas it might be more unusual for a man to be wandering the streets at night with blood on him, it wouldn't be unusual for a woman, a midwife, to wandering the streets. And the midwife would also have the knowledge, the surgical knowledge that Jack the Ripper is alleged to have had. So it would have been quite a feasible possibility that it was a woman rather than a man.
And that is such a fact. And you hear so many fascinating theories about the case, and that's one of the ones that when I can't remember when I was first doing research on it and I heard that was one thing that stuck out to me the most about all, above all theories was, that it could have been a midwife and a woman. And I was just like, it made sense, especially you explaining it just now. It does make sense when you really think about it.
But the thing is with Jack the Ripper, I mean, it's one of those cases that is very unlikely to be solved. It's a fascinating case. We've got 5 or 6 that we've attributed to Jack the Ripper, plus up to 13 other murders that could probably be related to him. And almost anybody, if you can come up with a plausible theory and a plausible suspect, there's not a lot. Yeah, it's quite hard to disprove it. It's very interesting. There's so many books and so much information out there. As you said, you can spend all day, every day reading about Jack the Ripper now.
Yeah, and when I first was a little backstory for people listening. When I was first doing research and wanting to do an episode about this, or just to kind of cover it, just a little bit, I was like, okay, where do I go? And I'm looking around on the internet, and then I just type in. I think I was on Facebook, and I typed in, and then a page came up, and then I was astounded by to find this group of just these passionate people about this case, and everybody goes in, and it's not a whole lot of like bickering and stuff. It's just discussions, and it was just fascinating that of the different theories and ideas people would have, and the information they would have to try to back it up. So and that's of course how I came to even to learn about a lot of these extra theories and things that I had no idea about. I've heard theories, of course, about it being a woman, to it being a group of people, to it being, what was it, H.H. Holmes, the American killer that we had here. I've heard, and they're all very good theories, but as you said, it's just so hard to tie one down.
Without conclusive proof, it's very easy to come up with a suspect and perhaps you need to look at the evidence rather than suspects. It's ways to tie suspects in if you are trying to push in a direction. This is a common problem with forensic science, is that you have to be objective with it. You can't try and make the facts fit. You've got to look and see what you actually see, and then see what they mean, what the facts and what they mean. And that's what I've got a lot of people who investigate Jack the Ripper say, oh, I've got suspects, I'll make the facts fit my suspect. So it's the reason we have 20 or 30 different suspects, ranging from royalty to, you say, Americans, people from Liverpool. Another suspect, Patricia Cornwell's done a lot of work. She thinks that Mrs. Sickett's a suspect. So, it's still a very open field. Short of getting a time machine and going back, I don't think we're actually going to find out. But it certainly makes fascinating reading, and you find out so much about the history of the crime because people are researching it. So it's a really good social research as well as criminal research.
It really is, because seeing all the people it brings together, and then learning, I remember I was sitting there and I'm going through the paperwork to just doing my extra research and stuff when I was it was actually this couple weeks ago, and it was November. I want to say it was the 10th. Yes, it was November 10th, and it was 11. I think it was 11:59, 11:55, or no, 10:59. And I was looking at the paperwork talking about the victims, and I got to the last victim, and for the life of me, I don't know why I can't think of her name. I'm just having another. Yes, there you go. And I look up at the clock, and it's the same exact time that her body was discovered. And I got the chills, and I just remember thinking to myself, on a broad spectrum, just how much, that somebody else probably halfway around the world is doing the same thing I'm doing right now, and how much people are devoting their time and energy into trying to figure this out, but learning so much in the process, meeting new people, going around the world, and learning so much about the time and the history behind it, because there's some stuff that I never knew that was going on at that time, including they had big, I can't remember what day it was, but it was like a big festival that was going on around the time, and a lot of the art, and just there was so much going on in that era, and it just being able to learn about it, because of the case, it's I think that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the only other person that's caused that is somebody like Charles Dickens. Because Charles Dickens wrote about the Victorian age, and we've learned a lot from him, from his writings. And it's a similar sort of thing, but obviously without a single author. But because we've got to research the streets, we've got to research the people, we've got to research the activities, then you're going to find out a huge amount of that just at the turn of the century when everything was changing in London.
Yep, exactly, and that's what I like so much about the case, just in general, is just the history and everything that you learn around it. not just what was going on, focusing on that exact point, but as a big picture type of situation. So getting to see the bigger picture of everything that was going on, it's just, I think it's very fascinating. I mean, you've already pretty much answered, if we've heard so many different theories and, about it, and if we ever thought it would, be solved, and, you did kind of answer that. I mean, it just doesn't seem likely, but I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Do you think, and maybe someday in the future we would find out, like, just not anytime soon?
I don't know. I mean, I've got. I think there would need to be a fairly conclusive evidence. If the diary was proven to be genuine, and so there was a lot of fuss a few years ago when it was declared not to be genuine, but then people are starting to rethink whether it is. If that was genuine, then that might be the piece of evidence that would solve it. But realistically, I don't think we're going to solve it. I mean, I've got my own views about it as to who it was and who it wasn't. But it's just that as we've discussed, it was a fascinating case. It's not something that disappeared. One of the first cases I went to when I visited a very young forensic scientist was almost exactly the same as the Mary Kelly pictures. I mean, we have photographs of Mary Kelly, of the last victims, and we know what the scene looked like and everything else. And the scene I went to in South London was almost identical to that. It was just as brutal. So the idea of somebody doing those sort of crimes hasn't gone away.
Mm-hmm.
It is fascinating, but we've got to remember that a number of ladies lost their lives in quite horrific circumstances at the time. And if you were to try and put me down as to who it was, I could probably argue for all of them because I know the various victims. But I mean, I still go with if we could prove the diary, then I obviously I'd look at Jon Wright. But I still like the idea of the Polish immigrant, Kosminski, who has always been one of the more popular suspects, and he was actually incarcerated. He was locked away by the police because we don't know whether the police at the time actually knew who was doing it, but just couldn't prove it. Mm-hmm. They were allowed to, under law, they were allowed to decide if somebody was not fit to be in public society, they could lock them away in what we call Bedlam, one of the mental asylums.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have to have a trial or anything else, and there is. I always wonder whether the reason that the killing stopped fairly abruptly was the person was locked away. The police thought, it's probably this person, and they locked them away.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. I know that it's one of those things. It's just if it were ever to be solved, I think it would just it would be a matter of the forensics telling the exact tale it needs to tell, in not just what the story is and what people want it to be, but what the science actually proves it to be. And I agree wholeheartedly that I think that if it were to be proven, it would probably be if they were to find something that some evidence, forensic evidence, not just circumstantial of this is where this person was at this time and this is their background, this is what would match, but actual legitimate evidence that would prove. And I don't know, maybe one day, but I definitely agree that it probably won't be anytime soon.
Well, I mean, they thought they'd found it with the stool where Russell Edwards found the shawl, and they thought they got some DNA off the shawl. This was the shawl that belonged to Annie Chapman, Anne Chapman, and it was allegedly collected by a police officer from the scene because he took it home with his wife, I think. It was then kept. Russell Edwards bought it at auction. And then had it DNA tested. But all that actually showed was that there was some DNA on it, but then as we know, the victims are prostitutes, so there may well have been DNA on many people's DNA, and there were some errors in the way the DNA was analysed, unfortunately, so it wasn't able to be substantiated. So, but it is going to be something like that. Someone's going to find some evidence that is going to be conclusively linkable to the suspects, and then hopefully, and the victims, and hopefully that will solve it. But in some ways, if it's solved, then that's the end of Jack the Ripper. It's quite nice if it isn't solved, because we have all these theories and speculations, and we have all these experts who discuss these things, and it does give a really good source of informed debate.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and it's brought in that way. It has brought many different people and many different great minds from all over. Like you and me, for example. Completely different areas of of the world, and we're conversing about it. And it's nice in that way that it brings people together to be able to learn and educate themselves, and to like what you do, like what you were talking about. You're taking stuff that they did back then, procedures and stuff, and you're learning about what they did, but versus what we do now and what we can do now that they didn't do that back then to help try to solve the case. And that's pretty fascinating. So I agree with you on that front as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I mean, last question. Do you have any specific message or advice to anybody who is going into the field of forensics? Something that you've learned and that you've taught to your students, or something that it's just an important message for somebody like that to hear, who maybe doesn't know that that's what they want to do and they're not sure, just something that inspires them. Do you have anything like that?
Well, there's a couple of things. Forensic science, you've got to be passionate to do it. Mm-hmm. It's all about science. One of the things that I teach my students very early on is what's called Kipling 6. Roger Kipling wrote a poem about it. So it's who, what, why, where, when, and how. Mm-hmm. And they're the sort of questions that every forensic scientist asks. Whatever we do, we ask those sort of questions, because you've got to have an inquiring mind. You've got to be passionate about science. You've got to be passionate about trying to get the right result. And you've got to remember that forensic scientists, certainly in the UK, we are an independent, we're independent. So if the police ask us something, we may not find the result the police want us to find. We'll just try and find the truth. And that can be very important. I've had cases in my career where the police have asked me to find evidence, and the evidence I found has actually shown that the person that they thought was a suspect is actually innocent, and it's somebody else. So it's very important. Forensic science can prove conclusively innocence or guilt. But students going into it must remember that it is an applied science, and there is a lot of chemistry and biology and background science, as well as sort of the more obvious CSI type stuff. And what I say to students is that we can do everything that they do on CSI, but it takes us more than 45 minutes.
Very true. Very true. I was doing some when I was in high school. At the end of the year we do something called like a senior project, and I did my senior project on it was going to be criminal profiling, but where I was located, we didn't have any criminal profilers that were active, so it kind of leaned more towards the forensic side. So I got to hang out with one of our crime scene units that we had here locally in town, and getting to learn. And I'd always known that there was no way that it would take 25 minutes to wrap up a case. It would take weeks, sometimes a month just to get lab results. And it was just fascinating when I'm explaining it to the teachers because they sit out and they judge and they, ask you questions at the end of your presentation. And it just astounded me how many people were like, oh, so it's not like CSI, so it's not like Bones where, it's just solved, that fast. And I'm like, oh, no. no. And it's good that they know that, though, because, it does take a lot longer and you have to be very patient.
There's a lot of patience, a lot of common sense, and meticulous work, and just working your way through from beginning to end. And I enjoy doing it. And I enjoy putting the pieces together in a jigsaw puzzle, which is what it is. It is a jigsaw puzzle, and as you slowly put the pieces together, the picture appears, and you can make educated guesses and get some facts behind you, and then you can give your results to the course, and they can make a decision as to what they're going to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's very true. Well, thank you. I think we've wrapped everything up, and this was very, very amazing. And I want to thank you so much again for doing this, Mr. Wright. The listeners are going to love this, and I appreciate it. And this is when I do these episodes, it's all about education for me. Just to teach and let people learn and get to hear other people what they think and what they say and how they do what they do. So it means a lot that you're on here. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. So I hope you have a nice day. And some happy Thanksgiving. It's a bit early, but happy Thanksgiving to you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well.
Thank you very much. Speak to you soon, man. Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, how was that? That was really interesting, right? Such a nice guy, and really thoroughly enjoyed this interview, and I got to learn so much, from Mr. Wright, and we hope to, of course, have him back at some point. That would be amazing, feel free to always reach out, guys, to ask me for to do certain interviews or certain things you could like any kind of topics you'd like me to cover, because like I said, this has been so much. I don't want to say just fun, because that sounds so, everybody's like, oh, I had a great time, it's a lot of fun. No, but in all seriousness, I have just learned so much doing these interviews, and working with these amazing people, talking about these amazing subjects, and it's astounding, and it's fascinating, and I urge you guys to please reach out to me, ask me questions, ask me, Dr. Knighting questions as well. It's always nice to hear from you guys, the listeners and people who enjoy this, and the fans. But definitely, if you guys have a topic you'd like for us, to discuss, or something we'd like for us to try to reach out to somebody, we've gotten pretty lucky and had some very, great famous people on here. So we're going to continue to keep, trying to do that, but we want your all's input. So please, you guys are hopefully going onto the webpage and seeing what we've put out there as well. And you can always ask us questions and send me an email, and I will be happy to respond. And if you have requests, I'll be happy to do them. Like I said, I did one, for a fan. She was really interested in us doing a Jack the Ripper case, and it was something that I thought we should probably cover at some point. And I definitely wanted to do it closer to the holidays, because that's kind of close to when that those murders were transpiring. So this was definitely a really cool milestone for me, and I did learn a lot. And I hope you guys are learning a lot too, and taking this in and enjoying yourselves. And I hope that I can keep providing you guys with as many episodes as I can. I'm trying to get them to flow a little bit more, doing like one a month to two a month. I'm trying to get them out there as fast as I can. I wish I could do one a week. That'd be amazing. But, when we do these interviews like this, it takes some time to hook on to people, and, of course, give them the scheduling and all that stuff. I'm sure you guys can imagine, so it gets a little hectic. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I can't wait to have you guys back next time here on Profile Matters. Our celebrity interview we're holding off on. We're still trying to nail down an exact time that it's a celebrity interview, so you can imagine their scheduling is crazy. But we have not let go of our candidates, not at all. We are going to get them on here, and it will be a very exciting interview when we finally do. So just be ready and waiting for that. And of course, Wendy L. Patrick, that should be coming in a couple weeks, as soon as me and Dr. Knight can sit down and work on the audio stuff, which I don't want to bore you guys with the details, but we gotta rework that so you guys can hear us properly. Well, you could hear Wendy fine, but us, it was like going in and out. It was insane. So we got to go in and we got to fix it up a little bit, so that way it's good audio material for you guys listening. Anywho, I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. Me and my fiance are going to go in here and decorate our Christmas tree. I know a lot of people are like, what? Decorating your Christmas tree? It's not even, Christmas yet or December yet. It's close though, so I figure what's the harm in having an extra week of, Christmas decorations up, so we go all out. So I'm going to go in there and help her do this, and we're going to enjoy the rest of our evening. So, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening as well, and I hope you guys are enjoying this. So, have any questions, shoot me an email. And in the meantime, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for being here, and until next time. Bye, guys.